those are the ideas of applying this new structural economics to support the development of the industry in a country. But does this kind of idea work? Can really provide some kind of guidance? And certainly, I do that some pilot in Africa, and one example is Ethiopia shoe sectors. Ethiopia should have comparative advantages in labor-intensive leather shoe sectors. But in the past, they don't have government facilitation, so they did not have competitive sector in the shoe sectors. And by applying the diagnosis, the gross identification and facilitation, certainly we find this should be the latent comparative advantage because cultural cost production in those kind of sectors in Ethiopia was much more than China. And let's say in 2010, Ethiopia employed 8,000 workers in shoe sectors. Vietnam, a country about the same size, Vietnam has population about 90 million, and Ethiopia at that time 89 million. But Vietnam employed 1.2 million people in shoe sectors. And China at that time employed, in the shoe sector alone, more than 6 million workers. So by that, how can we identify, this sector should be the latent comparative advantage of Ethiopia's. But how come Ethiopia cannot be competitive in that kind of sector? Because they don't have good infrastructure. They don't have good business environment. International buyers do not have confidence on their ability to deliver good, quality product. And the best way to overcome the first two, infrastructure and business environment, as we argue, you can set up industrial park. And then in the park, you can make infrastructure good enough. In a park, you can provide one-stop services. But how to win the confidence of international buyers? That relate to the quality, ability to deliver good timely. The best way is to attract the producer from China to relocate their production to Ethiopia. When they make investment, then they bring in the technology, also the confidence in the international buyer. But how to win the confidence of the international investor to come? The best way is to have the investment promotion by the Prime Minister himself. So I talked to Prime Minister Manas in March 2011, and he is a quick, he is a remarkable politician. After he understood that, he immediately put that into action. So he came to China in August 2011. Met with the investor, invited him to visit Ethiopia. Then, the investor came to Addis Ababa in October 2011. Made a decision to make an investment, immediately recruit 86 workers, send them back for China to do training. 3 months later, January 2012, they started production of two production lines with 600 workers. In March, this company started to do export. In May, these companies became the largest exporters by the end of 2012. Within 12 months, this company employed 2,000 workers. It became a miracle and have all kinds of demonstration effect. On the one hand, now the government official knows how to do investment promotion, how to set up industrial parks. On the other hand, investors now all of a sudden find that Ethiopia is a good place for investment, especially with the government commitment and support. International buyers now also understand once international investor can utilize the local comparative advantages, they can produce good with low cost, can deliver good timely, and they can also enjoy the third benefit because to buy goods from Africa, then buyer in the European market or in the US, they don't have to pay customs duties. So it's a win-win for everyone, and it now make Ethiopia become the most dynamic growing country in Africa. In the last 5 years, from 2012 to 2017, Ethiopia's foreign direct investment increased 4 times. And in most other African countries, they face the issue of deindustrialization. But in Ethiopia, industrial output in their GDP also increased 4 times. And Ethiopia maintained 9.7% growth in the last 5 years, the highest in Africa, the highest in the whole world. And one thing I'd like to mention, if you follow the World Bank indicators, this should be a hopeless country. Because according to the Doing Business indicators, in 2012, Ethiopia ranked 127 in the world. This year, 156, dropped 29 ranks. Right? According to World Bank, this should be a hopeless country. But how come they are so successful? Because they provide those kind of sector-specific intervention. Ethiopia certainly is a poor country. The government cannot improve the infrastructure for the nation. But they can improve the infrastructure for the industrial parks, and they can improve the business environment in the industrial park, although the overall environment is not good. So that's the way to do it. Then we can also do this in Rwanda. After I heard this success story, Rwanda government did the same thing and they achieved similar success. I'd like to mention is Poland. Poland also, Poland was the first country in Eastern European country to transit from socialist planning economy to market economy, right? And certainly they were heavily influenced by the Washington Consensus. And Poland did, in a way, somewhat different from other Eastern European countries because they did not privatize their large-scale industries for national defense purposes. They did not privatize. And that provided stability. But the government did not do the facilitation for the new industry items. As a result, they could not create enough new jobs for the young people. So after the transition, you see a large migration of Polish young people with good education in medical, in engineer, and so on, to find work in Ireland, in United Kingdom, in Germany and France. Only in October 2015, a new party called Law and Justice came to power. And it was the first time for a party to own single majority in the government, so they can form single party. After they formed the new government, they announced they want to do national planning, to do development planning. At the beginning, people surprised. Are we going back to the planning economy? Then the people in charge was the deputy prime ministers. He was simultaneously the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Development. He formally wrote an article to reply to the location on the newspaper saying, no, we are not going back to the planning economy. Our plan will be guided by the new structural economics, advocated by Professor Justin Lee. So he may be very famous in Poland. Okay. But the things I'd like to say, it's not certainly of your honor, right? The thing I like to say is the result. It's the result. The Deputy Prime Minister, Morawiecki, last December was promoted to be the Prime Minister. Okay. And I met him in Davos in January this year. And I went to his lecture. And in his lecture, he said, Poland's population was 1/10 of European Union. 1/10 of European Union. But in 2017, 70% of new jobs generated in the European Union came from Poland. So the result, right? And how come? Because with the national plan, now they facilitate the growth of the new sectors by overcoming some in the human capital skill sets, training of workers, some in infrastructure power supply, or in financial arrangement. And so I went to participate a conference in Poland this April. I see the differences. Now a large number of Polish workers return to Poland, finding job. And the other I also participate in a conference in OECD, met with some people from England. They said, yes, we observe that. In the past, all my neighborhoods, most of workers are Polish workers. Now we cannot find them because they return home, right? So that is what we pursue. We want to have some policy which work, help us to improve the life, right, of the people. So let me conclude. Two additional points. I did not say agricultural development. Agriculture also need to have structural transformation because that is where poor people work now. And but they also need to have new technology. They also need to find new crops, new market, and the government need to facilitate that. And for the resources abundant country, if they can overcome if they can have management and use the resources generated from natural resources to support the improvement of infrastructure, improvement of human capital, and so on, then resources can be addressed instead of occurs. Okay, so new structural economics provide us hope for the developing country, and according to the new structural economics, every developing country has the potential to grow at 8% or 10%, continuously for several decades, as China did in the past 40 years, or other East Asian economies did after the Second World War. Every developing country should have that potential. By their condition, they should develop their economy according to competitive advantages in order to tap into the potential of their competitive advantages. For that, they need to have a market economy, but also need to have a proactive government to facilitate the structural transformation. And the new structural economics provide a theoretical framework for us to understand how to do it in a right way. Overall, in the past, economic theory always comes from high-income country. Use high-income country as reference to look at what high-income country have, or what the high-income country can do well. Use that as a reference to the developing country to see what you do not have, and advise you to own what the high-income country have, like a structuralism, or to see what the high-income country can do well, it cannot do well, and to do as the high-income country are doing, like neoliberalism. And intention are good, but in general that way. New structural economics just does it. To look at what you have now, that's your endowment structure. What you could do well, but on what you have, that's your comparative advantages. And to scale up what you can do well in a market economy via facilitation scale, to turn what you can do well into your competitiveness. If you can do that, we can change the world. Okay, thank you very much.